So the Pope said, and I quote, "We should perhaps be a little less fearful of Islam, and in light of his recent remarks and controversies, I think I know where he's coming from." In this video, I'm going to walk you through the Pope's recent actions around these topics and the backlash that followed, and how this has everything to do with immigration, how the globalist machine is moving quietly worldwide, and how the Pope has become a very prominent and vocal figure in this propaganda machine. So a few weeks ago, flying back to Rome from Lebanon, the Pope was asked about growing fears among Western Christians about the spread of Islamic extremism in Europe. You just have to take a look at what the UK's authorities have been trying to sweep under the rug to understand people's actual concerns. So the Pope told reporters that those fears were often generated by people who are simply against immigration. People trying to keep out foreigners of another country, another religion, another race, you name it. And he told Europe and North America specifically to be a little less fearful, to promote dialogue and respect. And the backlash was immediate. Conservative Catholic commentators pushed back. Ordinary Christians on the internet pushed back. Something about that phrasing landed wrong. Something about it landed very wrong. And here's the question I could not stop thinking about. How can Christians in Europe be told to be less fearful when Islamic extremists have been walking through the front door for 20 years without anyone even checking their papers? I mean, Rotterdam, Malmö, Brussels, Saint-Denis, neighborhoods that look nothing like the countries they sit inside. Cultures replaced by force. The laws of the host country quietly ignored in favor of a parallel system. And the hordes that poured into Europe during the 2015 migration crisis were never asked where they came from, what they believed, or what they intended to do when they arrived. Germany alone received over 1 million people in a single year. Sweden, a country smaller than most American states, took in enough to permanently change its demographics. So the Pope is telling Christians to calm down. And meanwhile, the people already inside Europe are not calming down about Christians, because churches have been burned. Priests have been attacked. In France alone, desecration of Christian sites now runs at more than 2 per day. 2 per day. That is not fear generated by politicians. That is the news of the week, every week. And the Pope has been framing all of this as compassion, as welcoming the stranger, as treating every migrant as if he were Christ himself knocking at the door. Now, I immigrated legally. I filled out the forms. I waited in the lines. I paid the fees. I learned the languages. I had to prove more than once that I was not a criminal. I proved I could support myself. I proved that my presence was not going to be a burden on people who had nothing to do with me. I did all of that. Millions of legal immigrants did all of that. And now the Pope, of all people, tells us that none of that matters. That the person who kicked down the door and the person who knocked politely are the same person. That compassion requires us to treat them as the same. But I just made a mistake about that last sentence. Some of us knocked politely on the door and waited for it to open. Others, let's say they got a free pass through the back door. But anyway, to me, that looks like an insult to every single person who did it the right way. To me, that looks like a middle finger to the rule of law itself. And the Pope has been saying it in softer words for months now. Now, look at what Europe itself has been doing, quietly, while the Pope preaches patience from Rome. Spain, this month, legalized 500,000 illegal migrants by executive decree. Pedro Sanchez went around his own parliament because his own parliament had already rejected a smaller amnesty. He did it anyway. One stroke of a pen. 500,000 people who broke the law to get there are now legal. Italy does the exact same thing with the exact opposite press coverage. Giorgia Meloni was elected on a promise of a naval blockade. No, there is no naval blockade. What Italy actually has is a 3-year plan to import 450,000 foreign workers, with another 500,000 planned for the 3 years after that. The numbers are nearly identical to what Spain is doing. The only difference is that Sanchez smiles while he is doing it, and Meloni frowns to save face. But it's the same policy, but with a different marketing department. And the architect of the modern version of all of this, the grand philosophy that built the divide the West is living in right now, was Barack Obama. 8 years of redefining self-victimization as a virtue, of pushing the religion of DEI, of bringing modern-day Marxism. Honorable mention to Angela Merkel, by the way. But anyway, the collapse of the Western world did not start with Pope Leo XIV. It started with the globalist leaders long ago, including the man who is now coincidentally trying to arrange a private meeting with the Pope. And I have mentioned this in previous videos. Recently, the Pope sat down at the Vatican with David Axelrod, chief strategist who put Obama in the White House twice. So the audience was supposed to be short. But in reality, it ran so long that the Pope was 30 minutes late to his next appointment. And 24 hours later, the Pope became a rebuke machine to the Trump administration. So the Pope says that he is not political. The Pope says he stands above politics. But the man who won 2 American presidential elections for the Democrat Party gets a private audience that runs 30 minutes over. So that really makes you think. And in regards to open borders, I made a whole video about exactly this mechanism over on my other channel, the Battle Language Guy, titled How Governments Use Illegal Immigration to Control You. So make sure you watch it when you finish this one. The Pope fits very neatly inside that exact same playbook. And one last thing. The Vatican today, in 2026, still has walls. High, thick, medieval walls. Walls that the same Pope Leo XIV could order removed tomorrow if he truly believed what he preaches. But of course, he won't. Because the most ironic thing about all this is that in the year 846, the Moors sailed up the Tiber, sacked St. Peter's Basilica, and looted the tomb of the Apostle Peter himself. The Pope responded by building the walls of the Vatican to make sure it would never happen again, was named Leo, Pope Leo IV. That was the guy, a guy named Pope Leo, who built the Vatican wall to keep the Moors away. I mean, no screenwriter could come up with this. So 12 centuries later, another pope named Leo, this time the 14th, is gaslighting about open borders while sipping tea behind those same walls. I couldn't have made this up. Well, if you want my deeper analysis on geopolitics and markets, go check my new blog, The Power Pundit. I can say things there that I'm not allowed to say anywhere else. Link in the description. And share this video with your family and friends so they know what's really going on. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm The Power Pundit. Much love and bliss.